All right, quick Monday update here. Many of you know, some don't. At the police board hearing today, when I walked in this morning, I was pretty sure what I was going to do. I wanted to at least give them the chance to prove me wrong. It didn't happen. That hearing went pretty much exactly like I anticipated it would go, and exactly like the mayor hinted it was going to go. Repeatedly, whether it was the hearing officer who sustained an objection or the counsel for the city who repeatedly cut in objecting to context of things I have said, why I said them, the experience behind them, and the thought process behind them, as if none of it mattered. It really doesn't to these people. They had two choices, and it was simple. They were either going to do the right thing or they were going to do as they were told. And it's clear that they chose the latter, and they were going to do as they were told and make sure that this happened and give the appearance of a fair hearing. Well, here we are. And the consideration wasn't that difficult to make. There was no way that the mayor could ever be allowed to utter the words that I was fired. The fact that this even got to this point is inexcusable, and I guess we'll see what the labor board says when they finally weigh in on them coming after a sitting union official, which has never been done before, and our contention that it shouldn't be allowed. It'd have a pretty chilling effect to the rest of the unions across this city, who finally have woken up and joined the fight when it came to the vaccine mandate. But if they had their way and this kangaroo court was willing and able to proceed, and they did end up firing me, it would only embolden this mayor even more and demoralize this membership. The decision was made to not allow that to happen because I didn't want the membership to be demoralized any more than they already are. The fight is not going anywhere. I am going to remain the president until this term is over. Now, I made it very clear. My intention is to run for mayor. It coincides with this office. That's a dynamic to yet be worked out. This was never about wanting to be the mayor of this city. But unfortunately, no one has publicly came out, stepped up, and said, I'm going to do it. That we can back at this point. We are at a precipice of a decision here as far as this city is concerned. It's a tipping point, and I just don't think we can wait any longer to push back and get this miserable mayor out of office as soon as humanly possible. We're almost beyond the point of recovery here now, but policy changes at the top can turn this around. I'm not sitting here telling anybody that I have all the answers, but I do know this. I might have a big mouth, but I don't have a big ego to the point where I don't know my limitations and my shortcomings. I know I can surround myself with the smartest people needed to give me educated information to make the best decisions for this city. So as that progresses, we'll see. This isn't a campaign speech. This is a simple update in the mindset of where I'm going forward here. I am going to continue to give 110% as long as I'm sitting in this chair to the members of the Chicago Police Department under our control. And the majority of them below the rank of lieutenant, or lieutenant and below. The rest of them, we will not have a shortage of lieutenants in 2023 if I was to become mayor. I can assure you of that. There are many exempt rank members who have showed their true colors in the last month, and not a single one of them has stood up and did the right thing and disobeyed, so to speak, a direct order from the higher-ups to do their own dirty work. But yet we courageously have dozens and dozens of officers willing to do exactly that every single day at headquarters, which is going on right now. I'll kind of keep everybody apprised, but tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., I intend on hitting the power button and submitting my immediate retirement, and be right back here at this desk doing the members' work.
You are welcome. That was Fraternal Order of Police President John Catanzara after crawling out of the sewer yesterday to announce that he's not going to give Mayor Lightfoot the opportunity to fire him, so he's quitting. Coward's going to quit. Very, very mayoral to quit and run and rally the troops around him. Heil, everyone. Okay, so I'm Jerry Vasilatos. I'm your host tonight for this Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. Welcome, everyone. I hope you're all safe out there. And I thank you all for joining us this evening. First thing I'm going to share in regards to this recent development, something that Jamal Green tweeted, which I loved. Let me pull it up here on my side. John Catanzara can't muster up 10,000 votes, but he has to run to find a job since he won't have a platform to use his big mouth. John, save us the favor and do a racist podcast and go away. You might be the only thing worse than Lori Lightfoot. Cheers to Jamal. Agreed. Let's get into it. We laugh at this clown because he is a clown, and he seems to think that he's like the boss of Chicago because he's the Fraternal Order of Police president. We do have a superintendent named Superintendent Brown, who is, I guess, leading the investigation into a lot of the questions surrounding Catanzara's leadership, misconduct. We've had criticisms of Superintendent Brown, but I do think that if we're going to jump into the sewer, Catanzara is the one that definitely needs the lights shed on him. Now, the scary thing about Catanzara is, as much as we joke about him here often, I looked at the YouTube page where he put up his original resignation announcement, and he's got a lot of supporters in Chicago. He's got a lot of people who want to see a fascist like him, a dangerous guy like him, calling the shots here. Is it possible that this guy could run and win? I'm not going to dismiss the possibility. We all laughed at Trump. And as much as we have problems with Mayor Lightfoot, this guy would be even more disastrous. So let me get into this article that came to us today from WTTW News by way of Matt Masterson. Police union boss John Catanzara officially resigns from CPD. John Catanzara, the first-term police union president who faced termination following his inflammatory social media posts, and we'll get into those in a moment because I pulled up his misconduct record, announced Tuesday morning that he's officially retired from the Chicago Police Department. A day after he announced his intention to leave the department, Catanzara, the first-term president of the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 7, posted a picture of his personal action request form on his Facebook page, which shows that he has indeed retired from CPD. In the comments section of that form, Catanzara wrote, "Finally, let's go Brandon," which is an insult used by conservatives directed at President Joe Biden. They're too cowardly to just say F Joe Biden, as if "let's go Brandon" is like some horrible, awful missive to launch. It's just so childish. I'm watching my language here tonight, too. Catanzara also faced possible termination during a 3-day hearing that began Monday before the Chicago Police Board. He was accused of violating nearly a dozen CPD rules stemming from his inflammatory social media activity and false police reports he filed against a superior and former Superintendent Eddie Johnson. But because he's no longer an officer, he's no longer subject to discipline from the Chicago Police Board. This is all strategy. This is all shenanigans so that he can just keep himself in a position where he can continue to be a boil on the ass of the city of Chicago and everybody who has to deal with this clown. Attorneys representing Police Superintendent David Brown, who brought the rules violations charges against Catanzara, moved Tuesday to withdraw those charges. Catanzara was not present during a brief status hearing, but his attorney, Tim Grace, confirmed that his client submitted his resignation papers to the CPD's Human Resources Department at 9 a.m. Tuesday morning. That PAR form was approved by Human Resources, Grace said. He added that Catanzara's resignation is effective immediately. Catanzara had been an officer with the CPD for nearly 27 years, though he had been stripped of his police powers since before his election as Fraternal Order of Police president in May of 2020. In a video message posted online Monday night, which we gleefully re-edited, Catanzara criticized both the hearing officer and the attorneys representing Superintendent Brown, saying the proceeding went pretty much exactly like I anticipated it to go. They had two choices, and it was simple. They were going to do the right thing, or they were going to do what they were told, he said, suggesting city officials work to ensure he would be terminated. And it's clear they chose the latter. Catanzara called the hearing a kangaroo court. It's just hilarious. This guy who runs on law and order, follow the rules. They don't apply to him because he's the Fraternal Order of Police president, who can post this kind of shit on social media. As I showed some excerpts in his resignation video. This one, what the F? It's seriously time to kill these mother effers. Wayne State University officers shot. Well, we'll get into that in a second. I'll get into the social media problem with Catanzara in a moment. But let me finish the article. Despite his resignation from the CPD, he does plan to stay on as Fraternal Order of Police president for the remainder of his 3-year term. He's also announced plans to run for mayor in 2023. Did you like the little clown car clip that I found? I hope you did. James Lydon, who represented Brown during the hearing, said Catanzara willfully violated CPD rules with horribly disparaging, offensive, and obscene posts that were damaging to the department's image in the community. Yeah. During Monday's hearing, Catanzara did not deny making any of the social media posts or the criminal incident reports that led to the rules violations, but he wanted more latitude to explain his actions. He didn't disavow them. He wanted to explain them. He wanted everybody to accept that it was okay because he had his own reasons. He testified for more than 2 hours Monday before addressing the court at the end of the hearing to announce his retirement plans. Okay, as we saw. Let's go to this a-hole's social media posts. So this comes to us from, so you just so you understand, we're not just slamming him because he's a cop. He's a bad cop. There are good cops and there are bad cops, and Catanzara is like bottom of the barrel bad. This comes to us from the Chicago Justice Project. This is a compilation of Catanzara's 23 years of misconduct complaints and social media controversies. I'm just going to scratch the surface because if I read this whole article, we wouldn't have room to do the rest of the show with our other stories. So let's go to the social media complaints that were at the heart of some of this misconduct. The social media history of Catanzara. Catanzara is potentially facing termination for a series of inflammatory posts on social media dating back to 2016. Now, this reflects this man's attitude in leadership, rallying members of the Chicago Police Department. Do we want somebody like this who clearly draws this thin blue line between the police and us? There is a line between the police and us. That's apparently not a line to cross. There's no reaching across so that police can work with citizens and citizens can work with police. It doesn't seem that there's any efforts to bring police and the citizens and the neighborhoods and the public together because the police are to be listened to and obeyed no matter what. These are some of his social media posts that really showcase why this guy is completely unfit as a police officer and unfit to lead the Fraternal Order of Police. These social media posts show a pattern of disrespect of authority despite Catanzara's role as an authority figure in the Fraternal Order of Police. As an officer, Catanzara wants residents of Chicago to obey the laws and rules when he and other officers are the ones in charge of enforcing them. Fascism. However, he repeatedly breaks the rules of the department, especially when he disagrees with other officers. It's important to note that this is an incomplete record of Catanzara's posts. Many of these screenshots were collected as the posts were originally made and have since been altered, deleted, or shielded from public view. Let's get into some of those. I'm going to read because, it might be hard for some of you to read the details on the screen here. January 15th, 2008 through March 15th of 2013, the superintendent of police recommended firing Catanzara over making a false report, failing to follow medical role procedures, disobedience of orders, and other violations of rules of conduct. Although the police board found Catanzara guilty of all charges, he received a 20-day suspension instead of termination. The two members who voted for his termination write in their dissent, "We find the respondent guilty of all charges, and based on the seriousness and intentional nature of the respondent's misconduct, his self-serving false statements and testimony under oath, we vote to order that he be discharged from his position as a police officer." I don't know why that didn't happen. Perhaps the union is what protected him. June 14th, 2008 to May 8th of 2014, the superintendent of police recommended firing Catanzara over his disobedience of orders and actions which impede the CPD's efforts to achieve their policy goals. With a slim majority, 5 of 9 members of the police board voted to allow Catanzara to receive a 20-day suspension instead of termination. Now, here come the social media postings. November 22nd, 2016, 3 violations. On Facebook, Catanzara posted a link to an article reporting the shooting of an officer and advocated that those responsible ought to be killed. He used offensive language, writing, "What the F? It is seriously time to kill these mother effers." This post may be considered in violation of Rules 2, 3, and 6 of the Police Department's Rules of Conduct in the ongoing investigation. November 25th, 2016. And this guy just doesn't stop. He just doesn't stop. They slap him on the wrist, and he just continues going. Catanzara made a statement on Facebook that encouraged other department members to stop chasing offenders. This post may be considered a violation of Rules 2, 3, 6, and 53 in the ongoing investigation. December 1st, 2016, 3 violations. Officer Catanzara shared a picture on Facebook that was disrespectful to public benefit recipients. The post may be considered in violations of Rules 2, 3, and 6 in the ongoing investigation. January 22nd, 2017. 4 violations. Catanzara made an obscene statement on Facebook directed to a member of the public by stating, "Is it too late to abort the claw," spelling incorrect, "the stupidity of some humans like her only proved the saying, the best part dripping down her mom's leg." This post may be considered in violations of Rules 2, 3, 6, and 8 in the ongoing investigation. January 30th, 2017, Catanzara made a post to Facebook which read, "Savages, they all deserve a bullet," in reference to a video of a woman being stoned to death. The post further stated, "This is the reason many Americans are leery of a large segment of Muslims, especially those who support Sharia law. This is the life many want to bring to this country. This biased statement against Muslims is being considered for violations of 2, 3, and 6 in the ongoing investigation." Look, I could go on and on and on. The link to the Chicago Justice Project is down there in the show notes, and you can see for yourself why this guy should be run out of town on a rail and prevented at all costs from running for mayor or exposed for the piece of shit that he really is. Do any of you want a guy like this, racist, bigoted, prejudiced, no regard for civil rights, fascist authoritarian running our city? I don't. But that is the state of politics today. And the scene here in our city when we've got a lame duck mayor in Lightfoot, who we're going to get to her later. Another story broke today that is not in our show title, but we're going to get to regarding something that happened today with her appointment of a new oversight boss, police oversight boss. But before we go on to our ongoing story, I want to go to the live chat and see some people's comments, because I thank you all for joining me tonight. Let's see here. Arturo Medina. Catanzara is a dangerous man, and this is really his rallying call to make things worse. That's exactly what it is. This was his proclamation of war. And he's insulated himself by resigning so he can't be fired, so he can still be the president of the Fraternal Order of Police. Ed Heller, this guy sure is a windbag. Yep, he certainly is. Yeah, it will be fun covering the mayoral race. I don't think, as much as we want to cover the candidates for the mayoral race this next cycle, I don't think we're going to, I doubt we're going to get Catanzara on the show after our coverage tonight, but I don't care. He's not the kind of guy I want to have on, because he's already spoken for himself. We know what he's all about. Some of the other comments here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Ward Your Entertainment, All for Nothing 388, Gamer for Life. Arturo Medina, as always. He did what I would have done, which is quit before being fired. I at least understand what he did. Yeah, and the strategy he's using, Art, to rally his strength and power to continue terrorizing the city on behalf of how he thinks that people should be led, or how the law should be enforced. He's not a cop anymore, but he's going to act like a cop all the time. Yeah. Well, he already acts like he's mayor of the city, and he acts like he's the president. He's the superintendent of police. Turkey Day. Didn't laugh at Trump. Whether he's absurd or not is a different issue than laughing at the prospect of someone that sophisticated at media who is a WDC outsider having prospects of winning. Catanzara is the type of man who will command someone to drag someone out of a house and shoot them in the street, and there are plenty who want to follow his orders. Yeah, that's what I fear too. Hey, Love Tagore's here. Gamer for life. JR. Is the symbol behind him a star or a pentagram? Good question. Maybe yes is the answer. Excuse me. And finally, rounding out our comments here. Yeah, but he quit, so now he can't get unemployment. Yeah. But there might be some safeguards there. I don't know if he's accumulated a pension as a police officer that he might have some rights to. Not sure how that works. Arturo Medina, I'm certain that at some point Catanzara had wanted to help cops, but he must have just turned to the dark side, and now there's no going back. He's Darth Vader waiting to be the Emperor. I would respectfully disagree with you, Art. I think this guy was a piece of shit before he went to help cops. I think he's kind of a self-aggrandizing jagoff who just wants to consolidate his own power and spread his own ideals, and it's very, very dangerous for someone like that when they've got an instrument like the police department or the Fraternal Order of Police to do so. But I take your point. All right, so let me go into our next story here. Let's wipe away the slime of Catanzara.
Hey, Jerry.
Yes.
Jerry, before we get into the next story, I got some fantastic news for everyone who is watching the show right now. We got all new flavor improving mugs, the mugs that improve flavor, at the merch store right now. But not just this fantastic Chicago Corner mug, which has 30% flavor improvement technology, Jerry.
I can always rely on Pegleg to come in and help us pimp our mugs because they make great Christmas gifts. They make great gifts any time else, and they certainly will help our streaming operational costs here on the corner.
So true, Jerry. And check this out. This is all brand new, just put in the merch store today.
Oh my goodness. How about that?
Figured out the flavor matrix on the flavor improving mugs. So now you can have hot cocoa in your mug with the 30% flavor improvement. We had 25%. Actually, I had to correct myself. The Chicago Corner mugs were 25% flavor improvement. These hot cocoa mugs with the fantastic art on the other side that says, I swear on the ghost of Pegleg Sullivan that chocolate cows exist, has 30% flavor improvement. 30, Jerry. That's like 5% more.
And when you consider how cold it's getting outside and everybody's going to need to make that hot cocoa, just imagine how much more flavorful your cocoa would be using one of Pegleg Sullivan's Chocolate Cows Exist hot cocoa mugs. That's going to be good hot cocoa.
This is like the best technology we have yet, Jerry, and it's on a fantastic mug that says hot cocoa right on it. It's got a picture of my best friend, Bessie, the chocolate milk cow.
She there with you?
She's
there with you.
Bessie says this is an amazing mug and she wants one too.
My mind sometimes goes places regarding that relationship you've got with Bessie that I don't want to go, so I'm just gonna not go there.
We're just roommates, and you can't prove otherwise, Mr. Vasilatos.
It's not that I want to, Pegleg, and as I say quite often, I hope I prefer to be proven wrong in some of my instincts or thoughts, but Anyway,
But we digress.
We do
Flavor
digress.
improving mugs are the things we are promoting right now. And you
Yes.
can get them in the Redbubble merch store in the link below in this video. Remember, flavor improving
Yes.
mugs. The mugs that improve flavor.
So getting back to Bessie really quickly, are you familiar with Chunk Yogurt?
Chunk yogurt?
Chunk Yogurt? Yeah.
I like
He
the
had
Greek.
some.
I like the Greek style, Jerry. I think
Yeah.
that stuff's pretty good, but I don't know about this
You
thing
don't know
that's
this
chunk.
Chunk Yogurt. He just had some. He had some thoughts on human and animal relationships, and I hope you've never heard of him or anyway.
We're going to a very dark place right
We
now,
are going
Jerry.
to a dark place. That's what she said. That's what Bessie said. All right, listen. Thank you for coming on and helping with our sponsorship tonight. My sixth sense of humor is starting to show a little bit.
I'm very happy to come in and help promote those wonderful flavor improving mugs, and I cannot wait to hear what the next story is going to be.
Well, if you happen to have any kind of a connection with our other colleague at Heller and he wants to jump in at any point later, tell him he's welcome.
Well, I'll float over there and see if he's around.
Go haunt him.
So I'll talk to you later, Jerry.
Thank you, Pegleg. Okay. That was our friend of the show and recurring Chicago fire arsonist, Pegleg Sullivan. Although it can't be proven, questions still remain. All right, so going on to I know he's going to jump in now that I said that. All right, let's go on to our next story and see if we can beat him to the punch. This comes to us from Block Club Chicago, and this broke today. It came from Justin Lawrence, and I'm actually kind of fresh to the story. I didn't get a chance to completely review it, so I'm going to be learning as we go along what happened today. So Alderman slammed Lightfoot's pick for police oversight boss after tone-deaf report on slain officer Ella French. The Civilian Office of Police Accountability recommended discipline for French stemming from the botched raid at Ann-Jeanette Young's home. Oh, this is the story where the police went into that home and Ann-Jeanette was not dressed and they were in the wrong home and they completely traumatized her. And it came out later that Officer French was the only officer that actually showed some compassion and took care of this woman after the police lamely apologized and left and didn't do anything to correct the situation. And I believe Ann-Jeanette Young had to file for freedom of information to get that video out so people knew what happened. And of course, she was stonewalled by the city because you'd never want to know that the police made that kind of a mistake. The report was finished in April, getting back to our story, months before French was killed, but released to the public last week. 20 Alder people have opposed Mayor Lori Lightfoot's choice to lead the Civilian Office of Police Accountability after the agency recommended discipline for slain officer Ella French in a report about the wrongful raid on Ann-Jeanette Young's home in 2019. Lightfoot nominated Andrea Kirsten as COPA's chief administrator Tuesday, a position Kirsten has held on an interim basis since Sidney Roberts left in the spring. Kirsten's appointment must be confirmed by a majority of the 50-member city council. Last week, COPA released its findings into the raid, in which body cameras showed a terrified Young, handcuffed and naked. While she pleads with officers, they were searching the wrong home. The report singled out French as the only officer who treated Young with dignity during the ordeal. Still, COPA recommended a suspension of French because of other policy violations. That suggestion is moot since French, 29, was murdered in a traffic stop in August. The report was finalized in April, months before French was killed. It could not be released publicly until after Police Superintendent David Brown reviewed the punishments recommended by the agency, then charges against the officers were filed with the Chicago Police Board. The inclusion of French outraged her family, supporters, and local officials. Before Lightfoot's announcement, 20 council members publicly blasted the nomination, saying in a letter to the mayor they were dismayed, disheartened, and outraged about the report, and that Kirsten does not have what it takes to be at the helm of COPA, as demonstrated by her release of this report. Okay, I'm going to take a pause here. Are we supposed to just whitewash and hide the details of a report after someone has tragically passed? We all know that Officer French was a good officer. Okay, so she made a mistake in the field and didn't have her camera on. There were other cameras that caught what was going on. Why should that be whitewashed from the report? I don't agree that there should be any disparagement of Officer French, especially now that she's no longer with us. And this is all kind of like kind of a moot point anyway. So on one hand, I understand why the city council is upset that Kirsten decided to include this in the report, given the tragic circumstances surrounding Officer French's death, killing. But it also leads me to speculate and wonder if the city council wants stuff whitewashed for their own reasons, what would prevent anybody from whitewashing other things in other reports? That's not consistent. And at this point, again, it's a moot point. I don't really know that it matters. It seems more politically motivated for whatever agendas. Hey, Oreo. The letter also references Lightfoot's own comment last week. The report was the height of tone deafness, but does not mention the investigation concluded months before French died. Morale is low, tensions are running high, and COPA releases a report tainting the legacy of fallen Officer French and recommending disciplinary action against her. Again, this came before she was killed. And despite the fact she did show compassion towards Anjanette Young, and we're all grateful that she demonstrated how police officers should behave, she screwed up and didn't wear a camera. And this report came before things happened. So why would you want to? I don't understand what the city council people are carrying on about here. All this report does. Oh, I see what it does. I see what it does. All this report does is further alienate our Chicago police officers at a time when it is imperative that we begin rebuilding their trust in this administration and in the people who are supposed to have their backs, i.e., turn a blind eye to all of the misconduct, all of the civil rights violations, all of the killings that cameras don't cover, when led by a clown that we covered earlier, like John Catanzara. All right, so here are the aldermen who signed this letter: Nicholas Sposato of the 38th, Savannah Tabares of the 23rd, Brian Hoppins of the 2nd, Susan Sedlowski Garza of the 10th, of course, Patrick Daley Thompson who of the 11th, who himself should already be in jail. He's already under federal investigation for tax evasion, and he still has the what do they call it? The chutzpah to be serving in city council when he should just resign and let someone else take care of the business he has to be taken care of in his warrant. George Cardenas, sorry I'm editorializing, but this shit just pisses me off. Marty Quinn of the 13th, Ed Burke, the other boss of city council, David Moore, David Moore, who wasted millions of dollars to rename Lakeshore Drive, Matthew O'Shea of the 19th, Jeanette Taylor, Ariel Raborius, Felix Cardona, Gilbert Villegas, Emma Mitz, Samantha Nugent, Andre Vasquez, Anthony Napolitano, Brendan Rowley, and James Gardner. COPA is aware of the letter and looks forward to Interim Chief Administrator Kirsten's chance to speak before the Public Safety Committee and City Council in hopes more clarity can be provided, spokesperson Ephraim Aedy said. It sounds like Oreo's running a marathon back here. Lightfoot's office has not responded to a request for comment about the letter. French was not one of the officers who took part in serving the search warrant. So that there's a big factor there as well. She wasn't there when it happened. She came after. Instead, she and a few other officers arrived afterward to provide security, according to the report. She and other officers stopped and searched a man who had been parked behind Young's home, then went inside when they learned he was not involved in the investigation. French offered to take Young, who had been handcuffed naked for about 10 minutes, to a discreet area so she could get dressed, which a sergeant approved. French took Young to a bedroom and took off her handcuffs, allowing Young to put on clothes, according to the report. COPA recommended discipline up to termination for a sergeant and 2 officers involved in the raid. 5 others, including French, were recommended for shorter suspensions. The report recommended French be given a 3-day suspension for failing to activate her body-worn camera in a timely manner and not properly submitting an investigatory stop report related after she and the other officers briefly detained a man outside Young's home. That's completely fair. It doesn't disparage her legacy as a good officer. She screwed up. If anything, I think the 3-day suspension was probably a reminder of the importance to her and other officers that they had to be conscious of that regularly. After French was killed, Young publicly praised her for her conduct during the raid. Officer French assisted Miss Young and allowed her to get dressed in the privacy of her bedroom, a spokesperson for Young said in a statement. Officer French was the only officer who showed Miss Young any dignity or respect on the night of the raid. Miss Young is praying for Officer French's family and offers her sincerest condolences to them and all of Officer French's friends and colleagues. Great. None of this report that's saying that she forgot to turn on her camera takes away from any of that. These are two separate issues, and that these aldermen are politicizing it. I'm sure to score points. I'm seeing a lot of villains, our regular villains like Gardner and Burke and Daley and what's the other guy's name? Sposato. And then I'm seeing a progressive like Andre Vasquez, who, sorry, I'm going to say it, I think he engages a lot in identity politics. And I think that this is, probably a score for that too. James Gardner's, All right, let me go down to the article. Young is a pending lawsuit against the city, police department, and officers involved in the raid. In a statement announcing the nomination, Lightfoot praised Kirsten as a dedicated public servant with a lifetime of relevant experience and subject matter expertise and apparently attention to details, and singled out her efforts in completing the backlog of open cases COPA inherited from the agency's predecessor, the Independent Police Review Authority. At a time when independent and civilian-led police accountability have never been more important, I have the utmost confidence in Andrea's ability to lead COPA with transparency, integrity, and dedication to the office's important role, Lightfoot said. Kirsten previously served as assistant state's attorney, administrative law judge, and as a staff attorney with IPRA. Police reform, specifically civilian oversight, is one of the more critical issues of our time and of significant importance to all residents of our city, civilian and sworn, Kirsten said in a statement. If confirmed, I will continue to serve guided by the consent decree, city ordinance, and uphold COPA's core values, integrity, transparency, independence, and timeliness. Kirsten's nomination also comes in advance of the mayor's office being stripped of the power to appoint COPA's leader. That task eventually will fall to the newly created civilian-led Police Oversight Commission. Okay, so Kirsten's under fire because they disciplined Officer French before she was killed, and the fact that this is coming out now has got all these older people's panties in a bunch. Tough shit. You can't cover stuff up. That's my opinion. What do you guys think? I'm going to go into the live chat here now, and like to share what some of you all think. I'm going to scroll back here. Let's see here. Okay, love Tagore. Thank you. I see that comment. I'm not going to put it up, but that's very flattering. Thank you. Okay, so Art Medina. Officer French was disciplined for not having her body cam on when she was at the raid, which is ironic because they didn't discipline the cops that made the raid. Wow. Whew. Thank you, Art. Good point. Very good point. No matter what reports are issued by the CPD or the city or COPA about this matter, it will never make anything better over what happened. This will happen again because it is what happens in Chicago. Art, when can I send you a StreamYard link so you can come on and co-host the show with me? Because you make a lot of good points. I would love for you to share in person. And it looks like that's the remainder of the comments regarding this particular story. True Democracy Now! Just chimed in. The behavior of our police is directly related to those elected that pay their salaries and the lawsuits. Absolutely. Okay. So that broke today. That happened, I think it was like 30 minutes before we went on, and I was going through the other stories and details. So moving on. The other big story that I thought was important to cover is in regard to our former president, Barack Obama. I'm going to just run what's coming from Channel 7 News. This is in regard to the Obama Library, and this has been a big issue since the site was selected on the South Side in Jackson Park. South Shore Coalition's list demands to protect residents from displacement, as they should be protected from displacement, and all of the shenanigans that went on with taking public land instead of buying private land from the University of Chicago. Let's run the report from ABC News.
The group is still concerned about the Obama Presidential Library, saying that it could give way to gentrification, forcing many of them out of their homes and homes that they've lived in for years now. Right now, I want to show you a video of what was happening indoors today. Organizers holding an informational inside of Parkside Academy, which is just blocks away from the site of the Obama Library. Now, as you know, groundbreaking for the center took place in late September, with the Obamas saying it's their way of giving back to the South Side. But the small group also rallied then, calling for their housing in South Shore to be protected. They're calling on Mayor Lightfoot and the city council to heed their 6 demands, and that's to ensure equitable development in South Shore, expand tenant protections, keep affordable housing in this community, prevent and address rising displacement, give $12 million in homeowner protections, and they're also asking the city to hold the Chicago Housing Authority accountable to increase resources for low-income families. The city already approving affordable housing protections for Woodlawn residents who live near the Obama Center, and people in South Shore are demanding the same.
What that meant is we're now going on year 2 of not having protections that we could have been included in. And some of those protections that we wanted in Woodlawn, like the long-time homeowner improvement grant, which gives $20,000 to long-term residents who've been here for 5 years to repair their homes. That got cut out. These are all things that homeowners could have benefited from. These are all things that renters could have benefited from. But unfortunately, the leadership of the city and of the board decided we shouldn't have it.
And these demands come as organizers say South Shore has some of the highest number of eviction filings in the city. For now, we're live in South Shore. I'm Trey Ward, ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Trey.
Yeah, Art, if Art were Obama, he'd say, I forget building a library, it's going to displace good people.
The crumpled remains of this.
Yeah, you'd think so. I don't think Obama could be reached for comment because he's parasailing again with Richard Branson, the owner of Virgin, whatever it is, Corporation Enterprises. Fred Edward, Barry's neoliberal temple should be relocated, I'm thinking, 800 miles offshore. Oh, well, thank you. I don't know how Laney would feel about that, but that's a nice sentiment. Love Tagore, Arturo Medina, my mind was exploding, but you are right. So let me get into the article. Let me bring up the screen again. And well, I guess I don't have to bring up the screen. I can read from the article. There are more details in here. So the informational event, organizers held the informational Sunday event inside Parkside Academy, just blocks from the site of the Obama Library. They listed their demands to help protect residents. Groundbreaking for the center took place in late September. We saw that. And they're calling on Mayor Lori Lightfoot in the Chicago. I'm not sure if this is a transcript or this is extra information. The demands come as organizers say that even before the pandemic, South Shore had some of the highest numbers of eviction filings in the city. Yeah, I guess this just is more of a transcript of the video that we just watched. I thought there'd be more information in the article. But what do the rest of you guys think here? We had something from, Love Tagore. Yep. Shared that. I guess there's not a whole lot of opinion on that, but I thought it was important to share. As I said a few moments ago, the fact that I think Obama is privately funding this library. It's not like other presidential libraries that are funded, or maybe there's partial funding by the government that goes into presidential libraries. But I think that there's a lot of tone deafness here with where they selected to put the library. They have property elsewhere that didn't have to take up parkland in Jackson Park. They had that hospital site. I'm forgetting which hospital it was that they tore down when they thought we were going to get the Olympics. That's not too far from Lakeshore Drive and has a nice view of the lake. That area could have been redeveloped, and it's not too far from Jackson Park, but it's very, very alarming that it's clear how many people are going to be displaced and how many people are going to get lost in the shuffle for the ego related to this presidential center being rammed into Jackson Park because Obama lived in Chicago and he doesn't live here anymore. I think he's originally from Hawaii. He's now over in Martha's Vineyard. It's just troubling. They need to take care of these residents, and they need to make things right by them all. And they can't continue to shuffle them around for the legacy of a president's ego. Anyway, all right, let me move on to our next story. I found this story interesting also. This came from, again, Block Club Chicago, which we should probably be paying some kind of royalties to for constantly sharing news there, because they've got a lot of good reporters. Of course, we don't have a news staff, and as I've reiterated in the past, we're not journalists. We're just commentators sharing and reading the news and sharing opinions. So this comes from Justin Lawrence. This comes to do with the ward remaps. Chicagoans will get another chance to weigh in on city ward remap this week. Community organizers have blasted alderpeople for not seeking enough public input to draw the newest ward boundaries. Well, what a surprise. Do you think that the alderpeople really give a shit what the public wants as far as ward boundaries, as they change the lines across the city to basically support whatever they want to do? The city council has until December 1st to approve a new map with enough backers to avoid sending it to voters. There's our beautiful city. Facing criticism over a lack of transparency, what else is new? A city council committee will hold at least one more public hearing for residents to give input on a new ward map that will shape the city's politics for the next decade. I remember when Bob Fioretti's ward was reshaped. I mean, if you looked at the shape of what his ward was, it crossed I think 3 different neighborhoods and completely took away what power and influence he had, because he was across a couple different wards when they redrew the ward boundaries. So this is all about city council changing the boundaries and the borders to consolidate their own power for what they want to do, obviously without much concern for what citizens and residents in these neighborhoods think or want. As I'm about to share, as aldermen meet behind closed doors to chisel out the final boundaries of the city's 50 wards, residents and community groups have blasted the committee in charge of the process for not unveiling a draft of a potential map, nor adequately seeking public input, despite 3 redistricting hearings that began last week. Members of the Committee on Committees and Rules met Monday to discuss the process, following more rebukes urging alderpeople to drag the process out of the proverbial back room. Alderman Michelle Harris of the 8th, who chairs the committee, announced they would hold another public hearing at 3 p.m. this Thursday. This Thursday? Yeah. This article was dated today on the 15th. No, yesterday on the 15th. The meeting will be virtual, and it will be virtual, so you guys can tune in at the city clerk's website. The link will go live when the meeting begins. You can submit written public comments until 10 a.m. Wednesday here. Details for signing up to speak at the meeting can be found at the city clerk's website. At Monday morning's hearing, supporters of the Chicago Advisory Redistricting Coalition, an independent group that has put forward its own people's map, promoted their efforts for a resident-driven process compared to how influential alderpeople have overseen the heavily politicized exercise. Annie Jameson, president of the League of Women Voters of Chicago, said the city's remapping process has been conducted with no transparency for the people of Chicago, who will be greatly affected by the new ward map. I'm worried that the city council can't convince the public that the mayor and the council are departing from Chicago's long history of behind-the-scenes gerrymandering of districts, she said. Chris Kanich, a University of Illinois Chicago professor and commissioner of the People's Map Group, said the committees may be serious about passing a ward map by the deadline, but it certainly does not appear that you're serious about keeping the people of Chicago in the loop during the process. We held 31 meetings throughout the city, both in person and virtually. We received testimony from over 500 Chicagoans, the vast majority of them supporting our work in communities together, Kanich said. In contrast, this committee has held 3 hearings, virtual only, with public testimony from approximately 25 Chicagoans. With Chicago's population now at 2,746,000 and 388 residents, all 50 wards must have a roughly even split of 5,500 residents, be contiguous and compact. City Council is facing a December 1st deadline to approve a new map with at least 41 votes and avoid sending competing maps to Chicago voters to decide. If a map is approved with less than 41 votes, any 10 aldermen who didn't approve the consensus map can join forces to support an alternative version that would go before Chicago voters in a referendum next June. With just over 2 weeks to go before the deadline, it's unclear City Council is any closer to reaching that 41-vote supermajority. The independent group is scrambling to get backing from at least 10 older people, while 15 council members have signed on to support the map put forward by the Latino caucus. The Latino caucus, led by Alderman Gilbert Villegas of the 36, is adamant the new map must increase the number of majority Latino wards to reflect the community's population growth over the last decade. That version reduces the number of majority black wards from 18 to 16 while increasing the number of majority Latino wards from 13 to 15. Can't they balance it equally? Can't there be an equal amount of black wards and Latino wards? Why does one have to have more than the other? I'm sure that they could work to figure out how to boundary that properly. Alderman Jason Urban, 28th, who chairs the Black Caucus, has opposed that shift, insisting any new map must retain 18 majority. You say again, they want 18. Why don't you guys compromise and have an even amount across the Latino and the black wards? I'm just saying. Despite a loss in the city's. Okay, so he says he's opposed that shift, insisting any new map must retain 18 majority black wards, despite a loss in the city's black population. The Black Caucus has not released a proposed map. Irvin previously said the group would work with the Rules Committee to build support for a map that could muster enough support to be approved by the City Council. Both Latino and Black caucuses have voiced their support to create a majority Asian American ward centered around Chinatown for the first time in Chicago's history. Well, I'm glad they can agree on that, because that actually does kind of make some sense. So that's what's happening with the ward remap. Arturo Medina, compromise never. I like this, Love Tagore. Yeah, and if it doesn't, maybe we can buy some and plant them there. Going back to the Obama library story, will the library hold books of the Flint, Michigan crisis? I wonder if they'll have videos in their archives of Obama taking that sip of water. This is not a stunt. This is not a stunt. I really need some water. I really need a drink of water. Someone give me a glass of water. Remember that? And Flint still doesn't have clean water. Arts in the 26th ward. Maybe Netflix should have Obama's presidential library in their building. There's a good idea, JR. Slicing up the corrupt city of Chicago is all the work worth doing in City Hall. Gentrification by Obama is, I don't know. I found out my neighborhood is considered West Chicago, really. Any sort of newer renovating construction will always displace people. Oh, that was about the Obama library story. Yeah, why not use the now abandoned Sears in Woodfield for the Obama library? What's the name of that hospital that was, God, it was right by McCormick Place. No, it wasn't Edgewater. Anyway, they tore that old hospital down so that they could make room for the Olympics, which we never got. Oh, I think I have a special guest to join to our stream tonight who might have some opinions. Mr. Heller, hey, welcome.
Oh, there you are.
I'm here, and you're there. How you
doing?
I
had this crazy ghost kept screaming something about wanting to do a 51st ward for the chocolate milk cow caucus. It didn't make any sense to me, and I said, chocolate milk cow, he must be on Jerry's show.
I can't get rid of him. You know who I need? Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Which reminds me, Ghostbusters Afterlife is opening this week, going off on a total tangent. I cannot wait. Finally, another great movie to go see in the cinemas, along with what I see last night in Soho last week. I went and saw The Eternals a couple days ago. I was driving home, and I'm like, I've heard about this Eternals movie. It's a Marvel film. I should probably go see it. So I went myself. It was all right. I mean, I didn't have any high expectations. It was kind of entertaining, but they are never going to recapture the magic of the other films with Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. They just don't have the celebrity star power that they used to in the original. Or I don't think the characters are as interesting. But I digress. So we're talking about the wards. You know, as far as Pegleg and what you just stated, I'm surprised Pegleg might not lead a coalition to just create an honorary ward for all the cemeteries in the city and all the ghosts that faction represents on his behalf.
Yeah, you'd think he would rally all of the ghosts to just start hassling all the wards that aren't doing so well. Get them to support their agenda. I don't know, whatever that agenda is.
Yeah. True
Um,
Democracy Now! Adds, what difference would citizens have in determining how a ward is designed? This is determined by the city council members who have the autocratic authority to make these final decisions. Yeah, but they're not listening to what the citizens in their wards are recommending or what they want as far as how the remaps would affect them. So, I mean, I don't really all I understand with the remap is that the gerrymandering, and this happens on a national level as well, when we talk about gerrymandering of states and different districts, it's all done so that a party that wants to change the mapping can have more voters in their favor to like have more power with the legislation that they want to pass and it has to do with the population and the census and stuff. But as often happens, they play around with the right way to do it and manipulate things so that one party might gain an unfair advantage that you shouldn't have if they're doing it ethically.
yeah, I mean, it's all about political power.
Yeah.
Even you would think that maybe someone would want to do something equitably. If
Oh,
you
you
have
think?
a certain group of people that need to be represented in your city council or whatever, that you'd have an appropriate number of wards that would represent them. That's just common sense.
Yeah. So how did you feel about our old buddy John Catanzara that I opened the show with?
Yeah, pretty. I'm not at all surprised.
Yeah.
By him. It's super cowardly.
Yep.
It's like, you can't. He says he wants to run for mayor, and if he
He
can't
doesn't want to do it, but it has to be done. He's the martyr here.
yeah,
He's going to save us.
Whatever his rhetoric is, the point being that if he can't even stand up for accountability for himself, what's that going to say about him as a candidate? And he's going to get destroyed in the debates for the clown car that's inevitable for the next mayoral race. And I actually looking forward to seeing him get destroyed in the debates.
Well,
it's going to be entertaining.
I was looking forward to see Trump get destroyed in debates, and when I see the following that this clown has on social media, Ed, I don't want to I don't want to laugh too much, because we all saw what happened with Trump, and there's enough dismay right now in this town, and there's a lot of people that have the same worldview as Catanzara. That's why he's as popular as he is. And what's really alarming is how many rank and file police officers keep voting this guy in. That reflects a mindset that's very troubling to me about our law enforcement community as well. As much as we want to have respect for them, and we say this all the time, I don't want to disrespect or not trust cops. But how can you not when you see all this shit happen? You've got an asshole like that who constantly, harps on the fact the city doesn't have their back. What does that mean? He wants the city to continue to allow them to not have any accountability and to terrorize people without any kind of oversight. Because, we're paying millions in all the lawsuits. That's not coming out of police pensions. It's not coming out of any kind of insurance that police should carry for misconduct, the way that doctors carry malpractice insurance or other professionals. We're constantly throwing more money into their budget. We don't have their backs. What the fuck's he talking about? It's ridiculous. We know what he's talking about. We know what he's talking about. He just doesn't want
back and forth between two different power structures, pretty much. The mayor's got her issues and he's got his issues, and they're it's just a slap fight, basically, in public between the two different power structures. And now we're looking at the the continuing saga of this. I don't know. It's not. I wouldn't call it kayfabe. It's not really wrestling, but there's definitely a lot of posturing and theater going on.
Yeah. Oh, and he's completely feeding into it. So yeah, I'm not gonna dismiss him as much as I like to mock him, because I don't like him, because he's He's like Trump. He's like a horrible representation of. He's not a leader. He's just, his ethics, his morality are repugnant. The way that he posts that stuff on social media, disparage. It's like watching his social media is like watching like a white power social media feed, because it's all about hating on immigrants. It's all about hating on anybody that questions police authority. And every time I see him in his office with that thin blue line flag behind him, it's like, that's defacing the American flag, dude. You're a patriot and you've got that flag that's blue and white with that line that doesn't really represent what America's about. So, but what do I know?
Yeah.
I'm just some out here on YouTube complaining about things.
Regarding the story about the Obama library, I think it was the Michael Reese Hospital.
Michael Reese, that's what it was. Yeah,
that's the one that closed, and they could have used that space. You know, there were a lot of citizens that were against, them taking parkland to build this library. I don't know why they didn't take any of that into account, or just chose to dismiss it because Barry wants what Barry gets. And
the University of Chicago had property that could have been bought, private property, but they didn't want to sell it. So that's where they took the parkland, even though I believe it was Citizens for the Parks that was trying to prevent what was happening, or at least combat it.
Yeah. So you got one more story coming up, and this one's a good one, right?
Yeah, this is our end of the show feel good story to kind of like reset our palate. Let me bring it up here. So this comes to us again from Block Club Chicago and Justin Lawrence. Oh, no, I didn't have the right story up. This comes from Atavia Reed. With 1,000 turkeys and counting, an Englewood native hopes to feed the community this holiday. Deontay Tanner founded Servants for Hope in 2017 to bring joy to his community. He's hoping to raise $7,500 to do it again. And there he is with his, I don't know if they're his family members or just his team members. Deontay Tanner showcases one of the many turkeys he hands out to families on Thanksgiving Day. Tanner's hoping to raise $7,500 this holiday to feed the community. An Englewood nonprofit launched by a man who wanted to be the guy who provides hope, don't we all, is gearing up for a 1,000 turkey giveaway, and it's close to raising the $7,500 needed to pull it off. Servants for Hope, an organization that serves low-income families and marginalized communities, is back for its 5th Thanksgiving turkey and ham giveaway. Beginning at 11 a.m. Saturday, neighbors can go to 6600 South Hermitage Avenue for holiday meal kits. Thanksgiving favorites like turkey, ham, stuffing, cornbread, yams, and the cranberry sauce are on the menu. Ahead of the celebration, the organization hopes to raise $7,500 to reach its goal of 1,000 meals. The group raised about $6,100 as of Tuesday morning, and you can donate. Here, let me pull that link up, and I'll put it in the chat. I'm sorry, and I'll add it to the show notes also. Let me put this here real quickly so that you can all donate if you wish, and I hope you do. I know I will after I go off the show. If I can put a smile on a family's faces during the holidays and alleviate some of the burdens, it's impactful to me, founder Deontay Tanner said. The ultimate goal is to provide hope and help people tap into their purpose in life. The first time Tanner helped neighbors in Englewood, he did so from the warmth of his mother's living room. Tanner grew up on the 64th and Wolcott in Englewood. Watching the disinvestment taking place in his community made him feel helpless, he said. At the time, I thought the entire system was failing us, Tanner said. I started to believe that we were never meant to succeed, but I had no other choice but to press on. Tanner, a Gates Millennium Scholar, a prestigious scholarship that provides complete coverage of college tuition, was a student at Marquette University when he had the urge to help families in his neighborhood on Christmas. I kind of understand that. The year was 2016. It was 3 weeks before the holiday. Together with his 2 best friends, Tanner created a GoFundMe and raised $1,000 for presents for families in need in the community. Come Christmas, people came in and out of Tanner's mother's living room for toys and goods. Seeing the hope on neighbors' faces filled him with excitement, he said. I didn't honestly expect such a great impact, but the moment someone asked if I was going to do the Christmas giveaway again the following year, it became so real for me, Tanner said. As soon as January hit, I was longing for Christmas again. I asked myself how I could keep my mind off of Christmas. That's how Thanksgiving came about. Tanner founded Servants for Hope in July of 2017. Later that year, Tanner held his first turkey giveaway with the help from friends and family. Tanner gave away 100 turkeys in the neighborhood, he said. The following year, he decided to raise the bar. The Thanksgiving that next year in 2018, we gave away 450 turkeys, Tanner said.
That's a lot of turkeys.
That's a lot of turkey. And that's a lot of leftovers, too.
I like leftovers.
Oh, for days. It kept building from there. Once you get into the big numbers, like 400 or 500 turkeys, you either have to match it or you need to go above. So each year we challenged ourselves to go higher. In 2019, a friend challenged Tanner to provide 1,000 turkeys, he said. I thought he was crazy, but I decided I had to match his energy, Tanner said. We ended up raising $10,000 the third year, and I was able to get 1,000 turkeys. When the pandemic hit in 2020, Tanner witnessed double the suffering in Englewood, he said. For Thanksgiving, he created grocery kits with 500 turkeys. Due to a shortage, he threw in a new item he hoped would please families, ham. Each kit contained macaroni and cheese, cranberry sauces and cornbread, the essentials. I wanted to be the guy who provides hope, Tanner said. I wanted to be one of the guys who would provide a counter-narrative to those different narratives that people had about Englewood. The ham was a hit, Tanner said. To his humor, families requested it over the turkey. This year, he hopes to have plenty of hams to go around, he said. We're definitely looking forward to serving more people, Tanner said. Despite the pandemic, we got to rise above. I really want to get folks to realize that despite obvious circumstances and different systems of oppression and marginalization, we all have a purpose. Hear, hear. We do. And I think that's a marvelous sentiment, and I thought that was a really good story to finish the show on as we're kind of going into the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I like to cook, so sometimes on rare occasions I'll host myself, or at the very least I'll go and help family members with the cooking whenever I'm going to their houses. And I have a stuffing that I make every year. Recipes on the website at edheller.com if you want to find it. It's in the recipes link. It's a hybrid cornbread and traditional stuffing, and the family loves it.
So are you? I've never asked you this before. Do you have family here in the city or elsewhere?
I am the last one in the city. Everyone else is out in the burbs now. I grew up in the burbs. I moved to the city when I took a job here. I stayed here, and then the family is scattered in two different directions out in the burbs, but not too far by expressway. So, we all figure out who's hosting, and then we go there. And then I'll bring my stuffing, and we'll reheat that, and someone else will contribute and make certain other side dishes and stuff, and somebody makes the turkey. And occasionally we go off the rails, like my brother will break out the smoker, and he'll smoke some other things along with traditional turkey. He'll make ribs or brisket, or sometimes we'll deep fry one of those suckers.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
We get creative when we can, but everybody be safe. Use safety precautions when you're doing any of those really fancy things like deep frying a turkey. You've seen the videos. They show you that one every year where they dunk a frozen turkey into the hot oil, and it sets this gigantic ball of flame flying up. You don't want that to happen. That's not good eats.
So really quickly, what suburb are you from and your family in?
Which suburb? I'm from Hanover Park.
Hanover Park,
which is near. If you know Schaumburg, it's a stone's throw from Schaumburg. It's near Hanover Park's part of the Tri-Cities. They call out over there with Streamwood and Bartlett, and so I grew up out that way, and so we've always been, a short car trip to the city. So it's never been like I didn't feel like I wasn't from the Chicago area. It's just it took me a few decades of my life before I actually moved out here.
Mm.
And there's definitely a difference in perspectives, and people in the city. A lot of times, especially when they grew up here from their youth, they're like, "Oh, dude, you're not from Chicago." I'm like, I'm not originally from Chicago, but I live here. I've lived here for how long have I lived here? I think almost 20 years.
Once
Pretty
you set
close.
roots down somewhere in the city, you are a Chicagoan. I grew up in Wilmette. Although I was born in Chicago, my parents lived in the city before they went to the suburbs to try to give us better schooling. When I went to college, I came back into the city, go to Columbia College, and I settled in the Southport corridor, right across from the Music Box Theater. And I don't know. I was grateful for growing up on the north side in the suburbs, but I've just always felt more connected to the city. And I've always had my mom ask me, "Why don't you get a condo, live closer to home, up in the suburbs, get out of the city?" I'm like, nah, it's just there's more excitement here. There's more happening. I just feel more connected here.
I
So,
think it's good to live, in the city and the suburbs to get
yeah,
a perspective of
absolutely.
both.
Yeah.
You when if you start in the suburbs and move to the city, you get a real appreciation for parking.
That's true.
Oh my goodness, did Chicago screw up parking?
Yeah.
And just being able to get places. I mean, when I started out here, I was cool with public transit, and it was working somewhat decently considering the funding issues that they have from time to time. And I know in the last couple of years it's been a little more of a headache, especially when they cut down on service, or you have to be somewhere right away and public transit isn't going to cut it. And then just in what is it, the last decade or less, where we've had the ride shares,
Hmm.
it's improved in some aspects, but because some of those companies are just flat out evil, the pricing for getting around the city can be ridiculously high. Now I know out in New York they have this co-op ride app that they're starting. It's an actual cooperative group of drivers out in on the East Coast, and they're trying a different way of making it affordable for people to not only participate in the driving if they want to be a gig driver, but also for the people to actually get a hold of these drivers and not pay an arm and a leg to get around the city. I'm hoping that Chicago is going to start doing that too, and I don't know if the co-op ride people are going to expand out here or if someone here has to start that, but it's definitely something we have to look into for public transportation or
I
just
wonder.
transportation in general in the city.
I wonder if the rideshare cartels of Lyft and Uber would have any way of preventing that.
Well, I know they're going to try. they've I think in California, was it California, was I don't remember the prop number, was it prop 22 or something that they passed to try to kneecap some other types of competition. I'm not entirely versed on that, but I know that those companies are definitely going to try to keep their competition down,
Of course,
which
it's the American way,
you would think that they would welcome competition because
right?
it will keep everyone on their feet,
That's what
and make
capitalism's all about.
supposed to make you work better if your company has a competitor, but
No,
it doesn't
only if
always work out that way.
no. So they just want the monopolies. I don't know if you've been following any of the live chat, but I want to share something from Arturo directed at you. He really enjoyed your performance as the leader of the Hawkmen in the movie Flash Gordon. Gordon's alive. Come on, let's have
The
it.
one from the 80s.
Yeah, let's get it.
Yeah, that
Gordon's
was
alive.
great.
Gordon's
Gordon's alive.
There you go. He's Brian Blessed's twin, brother from another mother. There you
Yeah,
go.
I've been growing out the beard for a minute. I wasn't sure if I was going to be playing Satan Claus this year or not.
About that, we're going to have to talk off the air. As I read that story about this wonderful man who's bringing turkeys to people in the community, and I have some aspirations for collecting food and toys as we wanted to do it. We'll talk off the air, but maybe you might still be performing as Satan Claus if some of these ideas I have might manifest. So, but no, you look good. You carry the beard well.
Well, thank you. It took many years to grow the first one out, but now it grows like a weed. And so I usually keep it trimmed down to the goatee, or the Van Dyke is what they actually call that thing.
Yeah.
But when when you're at home and you're basically doing your freelance gigs from home, you you don't really pay too much attention to the facial things going on, so things grow out a little faster. We'll see how I feel tomorrow morning, though. It's like, all of a sudden you get that urge and you decide, oh, well, let's just shave the whole thing off. And
I'm
then,
gonna
and
see
then
if I can,
5 minutes later, Jerry, you regret it instantly.
after you shave it off.
Yeah, because it takes a good month to get it back again.
Oh, it does. I've grown mine out and let it get gray, especially during the pandemic. And yeah, I am very vain. I do color the hair, but I decided I wanted to see how I would look like gray with my beard grown out. And I'm looking for the picture here right now. I didn't mind it so much, but I'm just too used to like being all clean cut and cleaned up when I go out. But let me see if I can share with everybody what I would look like if I was a mountain man. Since you've got the beard going, I'm looking over my my pictures over here. Where is it? But yeah, I hear you. It's like it's a pain to shave all the time. It really is. But every time I look at myself with a beard, it reminds me I'm getting older. And here I am. All right, you guys ready for this? Pull this up.
Yeah, I definitely lose about 15 years when I cut back down to the goatee, because everything's just starting to get grayer and grayer every year. You
All
can
right.
still, I mean, we still got a little bit of the dark stuff in here, but it's like, look at the stuff on the sides, man. Look
Yeah.
how gray this has gotten.
My beard comes in gray. My hair, not so much. But here's old man Jerry. That was like during the pandemic. Right at the beginning of the pandemic, I'm just like, you can't go get your hair cut. Had no need to shave. So that's what it'd be like if I let it go. And maybe as I get, I'm still too youthful in spirit to complete and too vain to completely surrender to that. But yeah, I could live with it when the time comes. So
You can handle some more facial hair. I think it looks okay on you.
well, thank you. Thank you. I'm looking in the chat here and I saw something that was a little bit troubling. Love Tagore. I wish I was invited somewhere for the holidays. I don't know what your situation is, but I hope you have some friends to spend them with. And I hope if you don't have family close, that you're able to find some friendship or companionship, or perhaps even, I know that there are a lot of programs here in the city that are open up to people who might have families, or even if you're involved with a community organization, you might find some fulfillment going and volunteering to serve food and spending time with some people, because the holidays are not good for people to spend alone. So I'll be thinking about you, and I hope that situation changes, Love Tagore, because you're one of my favorite viewers here in the chat. So let's see what else a couple people are saying before we depart. Yeah,
Jerry, why don't you find a nice girl and settle down?
I'm working on it, but I'm also distracted by my career. So, hey, it's not like I don't put myself out there. It's just a matter of some wising up and realizing what a good thing they've got in front of them. So, and I'm also very picky, and I admit that. But you should be picky. You shouldn't settle, because the person you spend the rest of your life with or your time with should be somebody special that you have everything in common with, and you should be best friends. And I'm divorced. I mean, it's not like I've been by myself forever, but I that's a whole other story. But thank you, Art. I appreciate that. And I would say the same to you too, because Art's a really great guy. And I think we have these conversations all the time. And you too, Ed. What's slowing you down?
What's slowing me down? It's just not really a priority for me.
Yeah.
I always feel like, if the right person is there, I'm gonna run into them. For me, it's like, okay, I find things you're interested in, work on those things.
Yeah.
See if you can manage to keep rolling along and stay alive and keep yourself fed and clothed and to have a roof over your head and be happy with yourself, and then the people will come.
You have to be I've said this too, you have to be a strong single before you can be a strong couple. And I remember I was a strong single before I got married, And I had a horribly traumatic divorce. And I came out of it realizing I lost that strong single person because there was a codependency and a lot of other things happening. But I got back to rediscovering my strong self. And I feel, yeah, I'd like to find someone to spend time with that has all the qualities you just said. And I do think, although I thought I did marry a best friend, even though it didn't work out. I do think there's still something to be said for marrying someone who's your best friend, somebody that you share a lot of common stuff with, along with, the chemistry and the attraction. But you don't need someone to complete you. You need someone to partner with is what it is. And you can basically help, you've each got pluses and minuses, and you can help compensate for that and support each other and lift each other. That's what it is, lifting each other up. And here's the other thing. Here's the other bit of advice I'm going to tell everybody before we close tonight's show. It's surprising that it went in this direction. If you're dating or in a relationship with someone, you have to think about if the two of you are like facing the flames of hell, right? The worst situation in the world, worst disaster. If your instinct is to look at that person next to you and say, I don't want to go through this with them, it's just too hard, you're not in the right relationship. If you got to look at that. If you can look at that person and say, this is the person I want to get through this with, hell or high water, I'm going to get through this with them. Then you've got something solid, so long as you're supporting and elevating each other. So for what it's worth, Jerry's relationship advice tonight, that's kind of how I also look at things.
And Jerry's relationship advice has been brought to you by Flavor Improving Mugs, the mugs that improve flavor.
They improve the flavor. Thank you. And also I want to share with everybody, as you know, Ed is the resident artist creating all of the wonderful merch in our Redbubble store for both Chicago Corner and Hardlands Media, and now for Peg Leg Sullivan. So if you're so inclined and you have other friends who watch Chicago Corner, there's some nice gift giving stuff there in the Redbubble store.
Yeah, I'm this close to pulling the trigger on buying a 4-pack of the hot cocoa mugs. These things are so nice.
Yeah, they look good. Very, very nicely done. All right, let's see your face there. Let's wish everybody a really good night. It's only Tuesday. We've got a Friday show coming up. I'm not sure what we're going to cover then. As the news cycle continues through this week, I hope you all enjoyed my John Catanzara super edit. I threw that together like an hour before the show. I said, oh, no, I got to do something special for this story. And I was lucky enough I was able to find the footage to throw that together. So that was fun. All right, Ed, thanks for joining me tonight. Everybody out there, stay safe, be vigilant, watch out for each other. And as you know, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Stay safe. Thank you for joining me, Ed.
Happy to be here.
And good night, Chicago. Take care, everybody.